Word I ended on was reconstruct in part one, if you've been following the part one and going to part two now. So to reconstruct is just to build back up when something has been torn down. So maybe there's some things that need to be built back up in your life. Maybe you need to be built back up. I did. I did. And I really feel like I've been reconstructed. But to think that the Lord is telling me that there's more of that coming is an exciting thing for me. But that wrapped up the part that I was going to say about all the rewords and connecting again to the original reword that God's been giving me for a long time, which is resurrect and resurrection. Now, I'm going to read uh, some portions of some prophecies by someone else that were prophecies that confirmed dreams that God gave me last year up until this year, from for a whole year, I guess, from last summer up until now, which is almost summer as well. But whenever I had already known all these dreams, I'd written them in my phone or typed them in my phone, voice text them, because God let me know that when He gives me prophetic dreams, then I need to immediately record them somehow so I won't forget them. So I've got this whole big memo of like 30 something, I think, in there of dreams that God's given me that have been particularly significant just in the past year. And that's not all of them, but those are the ones I remember to write down. So these dreams, I've known them. I've told them to people. I've been aware of them. The symbols that were in them have been confirmed, and a lot of them I've gotten explanations and meanings and understanding, and I've learned from the dreams. And a lot of them have come to pass in certain ways already, which is so cool. But being so familiar with those dreams and having even told other people about them, whenever I read the prophecies by this lady that I'm going to read to you in a little while, or at least part of them, and her words and her dreams were so similar to mine, that was just all the more confirmation. And so that's exciting. I'm going to let you know because I don't think it's just for me. I think it's corporately for the church. Um, and especially since those are dreams and words that He gave someone else as well, I don't think it's just for me. I think it's for all of us. So you can pray and ask God if it is for you as well. But before I can tell you her words, I want to tell you first the dreams that I had that are going to be connected and significant to the words that she had given. So in early July or late June last year, I tend to have a lot of ocean dreams, but those have been having to do with personal promises that God's given me, and He's given me those for years. But those are more personal. This one I knew was for me, but also it felt like it was so huge that it had more to do than with just me, and I've had that confirmed over and over and over. So in this particular dream, I was in a building, seemed like a two-story building, and the entire front wall that I was looking out and a bunch of other people were looking out was just all glass. It was like the whole wall was a window. And we were to the side of the ocean, not like how when you would walk into the waves if you're going to surf, but it's like we were to the side and we could see a side view of what was going on in the ocean. And all of a sudden, even though we were in this two-story place and it was really big, we could see a wave starting to rise up, just to curve and crest, and it was massive. I'm talking, oh, I don't even know, hundreds of feet, just massive, like a tsunami wave, I guess, bigger than one I've ever heard of or seen recorded. And it was, it was slowly rolling up to crest. But everyone was petrified. I don't know if because they saw it coming or because it maybe had been forecasted. I don't even know. But they were scared to death, and they were all like hiding under desks and covering their head and, doing anything that they could do. And I was enamored. I was in awe. And I felt this honor and this privilege to be able to witness this beautiful, gorgeous big wave. And for some reason, it didn't terrify me. I knew I was going to be okay. But I watched it crest and crash, and so when it did, the lights went off in the building where we were at. So it must have affected, the buildings. It must have hit things or electrical areas or whatever. And people were screaming, and they thought they were right to be scared and cowering. But the whole time, I still just watched in awe and wonder, and I had this great awareness of God's power. In His glory. I felt like it was His glory and His power just being demonstrated in such a huge, undeniable way. But that was the big tsunami wave dream that I had. Okay, I'm jumping from these dreams. I'm not going to give all the details because I'm short on time and my phone keeps cutting off, so I had to do these in parts. But I'll give you the gist of them so that whenever they come up in the prophecies, you'll see why they were significant. Um, okay, that was, like I said, late June, early July. In late July, I had this dream, and the portion of it that's going to be relevant is at one point I went outside. I could see the yard from my window, which normally I can't. I would have to get up and actually look out to see the yard because it's not visible from there. But for some reason, the yard, I guess, was closer to the window. And there are reasons that became significant because later on, my landlady did work and had them cut down a bunch of hedges and bushes that were blocking the view. At that time, that hadn't happened. That has now happened. So now I can see my yard from my window. I had no way of knowing that was coming the whole time I've lived here, like almost 10 years. I've never been able to see the yard from my window without getting up and kind of craning my neck. But in the dream, I could see the yard from my window in my living room, which is now my bedroom, and I could see it looked shiny on the ground, but it was in summer. Um, and so I knew it shouldn't be anything like snow. So I went out to investigate what it was, and it looked like there was like, an inch or two or three, I don't even know, or maybe a foot of hail all over the ground. It looked like hail. I mean, it could have been some sort of bat snow pellets. I don't even know, but it looked like hail. And they were just glistening and shiny. And I was like, wow. And I was looking up and I was looking at the sun and I was like, it's warm out. Why? How could this be? How could there be both? And there were portions where things come down from the sky and I tried to catch them. They were like ice molds of certain shapes, like of a bird, one of them was. And I tried to catch it. And I couldn't catch it. It hit the ground first, and so since I couldn't catch it, I tried to pull out my phone to get a picture of it, but it melted before I got the photo taken of it. And then in its place underneath it, where it was, there was another shape, and it was a cross with a coin in the middle, and in the middle of a coin was the heart, or was a heart, sorry. And again, I tried to take pictures of everything, but everything would melt before I could get a photo of it. I wanted to capture it, and I'm a photographer, so I do take pictures of everything. But what happened is even underneath that, it's like there's a little hollow place out in the ground, like a little, I don't know, tiny little cave. It was like a little hole in the ground, but sideways. And I felt like in the dream, God was telling me to dig deeper, to pull under there, that there were going to be more things, more treasures under there. And then at one point, I also felt led to look up in the sky, and even though it was warm and there was this hail on the ground and things like that, and all these kind of seasons at once, I looked up and I kept seeing pieces of rainbow, which is kind of like what they call sundogs, I think, if I've got that right. But there were pieces of rainbow colors, not the whole rainbow, and they weren't even in the proper shape. It's just there's a spot of rainbow there and a spot of rainbow here. And I was like, wow, this is beautiful. And I was taking it all in, still trying to get the pictures. And that was the dream that I can remember of it. But it was all about these different treasures and all these different seasons at once. And it was just really cool. And I gave more information on that than I even planned on. The next dream, or series of dreams I began having from August all the way through November, maybe even farther, that I don't know that they've stopped yet, are dreams about resurrection. And, I won't go into detail about every one of those dreams, but as you can imagine, dreams that are vivid, showing and involving dead bodies coming to life and skeletons moving and just very vivid. And I would wake up from these dreams and I would just in a startle because it was so vivid, but it wasn't even really scary. It was just kind of like, wow. And when I would wake up in my head, almost audibly, not the audible sound or voice of God, but almost audibly in my head, I would hear God just put the thought in my head, see, I told you resurrection. Just absolutely undeniable. And I keep getting that, and I've kept getting that. And when it's not been dreams, it's been sermons, it's been songs, it's been signs, it's been, and there for a while, it was like 3 to 5 to 10 times a day, every day. And there's not been a day go by yet that he doesn't bring that to me in some form. And it's gotten to be almost a running joke with people who know me real well, and with my kid, because she's like, well, there it is again. It's undeniable. So the next dream, I hope I can get through all the dreams at least and then go for the next video for the prophecies. Was just basically, I just woke up from a dream and a startle, and God spoke into my head before my eyes even got open. And He said, your latter days will be better than your former, just like in Job. Well, okay, so that was that. Now, in January, on the 15th and the 16th, I had a succession of dreams about doors. The first one involved a door, my back door. I kept hearing noises like a knocking noise back that way, but it almost sounded more like gunfire. I knew it wasn't gunfire, but it was in a succession, really insistent, and it sounded more like the rhythm of gunfire, but I knew it wasn't. And so I went to check, and I looked out, and it was dark outside a little bit, kind of darkish, but it was raining, and I remember that, and I felt kind of like I needed to check to see if the door was locked. I'm like, well, we need to make sure it's locked, and I kept trying to lock the door and close it. But no matter how many times I locked it and checked to make sure if it would stay closed, it would not stay closed. The door would not stay closed, no matter what. It would not stay locked. You could push through every time, regardless. There were some more details to that dream, too, I can't get into right now, and I can't even remember all of. But then the next night, I had a dream where I heard the knocking again from that back door area, and God woke me up and said, when the opportunity comes, take it. So I kind of thought of the play on words of opportunity knocks, things like that. So that kind of made me think about that door. And then also, God gave me scripture later, the one that says that where God will open a door that no man can shut, because I couldn't shut it. I couldn't keep it shut. I kept trying to lock it and shut it, but it kept opening it back up anyway. So that was that. The last part of the dreams is that God brought me back to some of the wave dreams again, and this time it was about the breaker wave. This was February 13th, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the night before. Was that the night before Billy Graham died? I can't remember. It was in that week anyway. He gave me this dream of waves, and he showed me that they were the part when they crest. Right after they crest is they break. They're the breaker wave.